This is the Ancient Texan. Thought I'd just start your day off with a poem. A simple, easy poem. Loving too easy. Loving too easy. If I have a fault, it is loving too often and loving too easy. Was often told it was wrong to fall in love with nothing more than a smile passing between the woman and I. And before the smile could even dry, falling for another with sunshine in her soul. Only two of the women I've loved this trait of mine. One is my wife, and the other is her bookkeeper. Roe, November 2022. This is the Ancient Texan again. To go with that first poem we just read, I'm going to read a poem called The Beat of Her Drum. I've read this poem before. My wife helped me with one word. One word in the poem bothered her. And I listened and changed that line because I didn't quite like it either. And it goes good with the first one, Loving Too Easy. This poem is about a woman named Kara that I've been taken with several times over the years. I had a nice talk with her. First at a party and later over Messenger. Which inspired this poem. The poem is called The Beat of Her Drum. The beat of her drum. The beat of her drum. Coming for me from deep within the forest of my mind. Beats like footsteps coming nearer, my heart pounding in my ears. Perhaps she will turn away, her steps receding into the distant business of life. But what if she turned this way, noticing me as I hide underneath my fear? What if she saw me and I her? The flow of light intense between us. Would I burst into flames at being seen? Would she be singed, or perhaps utterly immune to the tales of my heart? Or would she too simmer, smoke, and catch fire herself? Her innards removed and lay bare on the table, sampled in tiny morsels by my curiosity, or devoured by my imperfections in seeing her soft skin exposed. What would I find in the folds of her brain, or the softness of her inner thighs? Would I become obsessed or even deranged by flesh and thoughts so foreign? Or would her loin be but ordinary and forgotten after the licking of the fingers. And yet, it is probably nothing, not the beating of hearts or even the pattering of feet, but merely the fantasies of my mind. Seeing life in the corporal realm of existence, where mortals flounder in the living and dying, seeking to be essential and noticed in our songs sung on stages, neath the arc of our lives, from nothing to nothing, and but a flash in between. Roe, September 2022. Let me throw in a few comments about these poems. Two poems I think complement each other. Loving Too Easy, which I wrote last night, and The Beat of Her Drum, which I wrote 2 months ago. Loving too easy. If I have a fault, it is loving too often and loving too easy. My late wife used to say that I fell in love too easily, and I diminished what love meant by saying that I loved many and that I felt I was in love too often. Oh, I can't say 100% of the time, but generally when I get the feeling that I love someone and think that I love someone, it lasts. It's not just a flash. There's a lady that I could easily say I love it at the church I go to, Joan. I have probably loved the chiropractor, Kelly, that I've gone on many a hike with and had hours of conversations with. There's another lady at church that I watched how she was with her late husband, who I won't name yet, but I get a very warm feeling when I watch her. And the few words I've said to her and she's said back to me, and over the years there's been many women I've got to know. Some obviously more than other, and it's not saying that I don't love some more than others. And with each one that I love, there's a passing into the feeling or the feeling coming over me when it happens. And you kind of pass through the feeling of love and in love, and you pass out of it. And often you get the opportunity, or sometimes you get the opportunity to go back through that feeling. Sometimes when the woman's there and she reminds you of something that you've loved about her, and sometimes only in our memories. And there's some that I think of often, like Sue, Michelle. And some women you love more after they're gone. I think my late wife, Julie, we had our troubles up and down and passed through love and out of love many times over 27 years. And it's interesting in her leaving, I see her better. But I think of love as more than just a feeling that you pass through and a feeling that you're in from time to time. Love is a commitment, an intellectual commitment and desire that you want to do good by this person, not hurt them, and help them as best you can. And some, you screw that up and you can't do anything about it. Done that a lot in my life. Others, like my wife now, Amy, I pass in and out of love with her. I think in some ways she's helped me to be more real and honest with myself than anyone else. So in some ways her love is more real. Perhaps more lasting. Who knows? But I think it's very special that only two of the women I've loved love this trait of mine. One is one is my wife, and the other her bookkeeper. I'll leave the mystery there in that. But the latest one, well, I'm not even sure I can say it's the latest one. Because there's little seeds of love fostering in several people, several women I've met lately. Who knows if they'll grow into a flower that I call love. But Kara, oh, I probably met her 5 years ago, and I think the very first time I met her and listened to her talk about social justice, I said afterwards, with my wife sitting beside me, I love you. It was kind of a declaration of what my spirit felt when I heard her talk. And that feeling kind of faded, and it's kind of like, oh, I was crazy. But then I talked to her again a couple of months ago at a party, just sitting around having a beer and talking. And those same feelings popped into me. A little more sensual this second time. Actually found her sexy, sexual, besides kind of the soft, intellectual kindness side of her. The beat of her drum coming for me from deep within the forest of my mind. Beats like footsteps coming nearer, my heart pounding in my ears. It's kind of where love always comes from the inside your mind. And it's kind of created, maybe even more so, or in spite of the fact that you don't even know the person well enough to be saying you love them. But there in that fantasy and dream, perhaps she'll turn away, her steps receding into the distant business of life. But what if she turned this way, noticing me as I lay underneath my fear? Can I be around her, be me? Or does my fear of not being liked or wanted affect who I am around her? What if she saw me and I her, the flow of light intense between us? Would I burst into flames at being seen? Would she be singed, or perhaps utterly immune to the tales in my heart? It's the kind of thoughts that go through when you see someone and you first talk to them or get closer to them. Or would she too simmer, smoke, and catch fire herself, her innards removed and lay bare on the table, sampled in tiny morsels by my curiosity, or devoured by my imperfections in seeing her soft skin exposed? See, all of this is, in the eyes of the lover, and probably has very little to do in a way with who's being admired, seen, loved. What would I find in the folds of her brain or the softness of her inner thighs? Would I become obsessed or even deranged by flesh and thoughts so foreign? Or would her loin be but ordinary and forgotten after the licking of the fingers? And yet it is probably nothing, not the beating of hearts or even the pattering of feet, but merely the fantasies of my mind, seeing life in the corporal realm of existence, where mortals flounder in the living and dying, seeking to be essential and noticed in our song, sung on stages neath the arc of our lives, from nothing to nothing, and but a flash in between. Notice this whole poem has no input from the object being written about. And we have no clue if the one being loved is touched in any way by the one doing the loving. And I'm not sure it matters. I think we give our love, and if it's conditional on what someone else sees or thinks, I think if it's conditional, it kind of means it's not real. Because I don't think love is a thing, if you remain open to it, that needs approval outside of itself. Anyway, that's just the way I'm starting my Saturday out. And for you poetry freaks, and I'm sure there's very few of us out there, at least from my experience. Hope you have a good day. This is the Ancient Texan. When I'm writing poetry, I'm known as Roe, my pen name. Hope you have a good one. Namaste.